Why can't I be more loud and outgoing around people? I wish I was taller. I've been crying for the last 20 minutes. Why am I like this? Time to read another self-improvement book. Hey guys, I'm Acta, and on this channel we explore the ways that we can protect our happiness and our well-being through self-care. So I'm a bit of a self-improvement junkie, but I feel like on that never-ending chase of trying to better yourself, you can very easily feel like you're not enough. If you ever go online and look for advice, you might see things like, in order to have better relationships, you need to love yourself.
That is brand new information!
Those quotes about loving yourself don't follow up with advice on how to do it, and I can't be the only one that finds it quite hard to do. I feel like I know how to love others by being there for them, listening to them, and being thoughtful, but how do you apply that to yourself? There's been so much research that self-love can help with things like health, dealing with adversity, relationships, and self-esteem. So I've always known that self-love is really important, and in today's video I just want to share a few of the things that have helped me put it into practice. Can the things that you beat yourself up over really be the things that you end up celebrating? For me personally, the things that I wanted to change about myself were the things that made me me. I saw things like me being really sensitive and emotional as a flaw, and so I was actively looking for ways to stop that. But then I came across this article about feeling too intensely, and it listed a load of traits which I not only identified with, but I saw them as positive things. So for example, being passionate, having meaningful conversations, being able to sense other people's needs, feeling alive, and being reflective. So yes, it does still suck when I get really emotional and cry my eyes out.
I may cry, but they are not tears of sadness or of anger, but just of me having this discussion with you.
But I've also really started to make peace with it because I'm seeing all of the positives. Even with superficial things, like, okay, yes, I'm really short, but it does mean that I can squeeze into really small places on the London Underground, and I can also buy children's shoes, which saves me a lot of money on expensive trainers. Yes, I have really fine hair, but it also means that I don't have to spend ages blow drying it because my hair naturally air dries in about 10 minutes. So for every flaw, you just have to remember that the grass is greener on the other side. Another thing that I've started to do is to separate myself from the voice in my head, because I feel like all of us were born loving ourselves, but it's that voice in our head that makes us think that we shouldn't.
Who's singing?
So every time that voice starts in my head, I try to take a step back from it and almost have a conversation with it.
You're a neat guy. You're just a love machine. I'm just a love machine.
So every time that voice says something negative, like why can't I be more confident, I actually challenge it and try to give 3 examples of where I was really confident. I feel like a lack of self-worth really does come from memories associated with our past. But then I've started to realize that memories aren't facts, and they're not evidence for things being true. A lot of the time they're just false beliefs about yourself. I feel like the only way to overcome that is to provide counter arguments for it. When you separate yourself from that voice, you also get a really good sense of your higher self and your intuition, and that's a really good way to build up self-trust. I'm much better now at following my gut instincts and my gut feelings about things, and a lot of the time they end up being right, and that's really helped me believe in myself a lot more. So another thing that I've been doing is trying to use and celebrate my strengths. I feel like there's so much about all of us that we can celebrate, but I think part of the problem is that we don't really use enough sides of ourselves to be able to see or feel that. So in my case, I love to write and I'm really creative, but I've spent the last 10 years, probably even more so, focusing on my more scientific side in order to be a dentist. And don't get me wrong, I love science, but a lot of my other sides were being neglected because that's all I focused on. So now I'm trying to identify some of my other strengths and actually use them. So for example, YouTube is a creative outlet for me, and I feel like ever since I've been using my creativity more, I've loved myself more for it. I feel like especially if you're in a job that you're not necessarily good at,
I think I'm doing better. Does anybody need coffee? Yeah, over here. Yeah, I do.
Or even if you're at school and you don't get good grades, it's really easy to feel like you're not enough and hate yourself for it. But you just need to realize that maybe you're not in the right environment for you to shine. So I think it's just important to identify what your strengths actually are and find ways to use them. And that might not necessarily be through your career. I feel like a lot of us do end up squashing other sides of us to conform to the rat race or just to working life in general. But the reality is our jobs or any career is not going to utilize all of our skills. Obviously, we can't be good at everything, but I do think it's important for us to access things that we are good at. Part of the reason that I think I've been able to work on self-love so much this year is because I've spent so much time alone. I feel like it's really hard to love yourself when you're around other people all the time, whether that's physically being with someone or even looking at other people through social media. It creates that feeling of comparison, and it creates a lot of noise about what you think you should be. So when I'm around people all of the time, I feel like I should be more extroverted. I feel like sometimes I need to look a certain way, or I feel like I need to be doing certain things in order to fit in, like listening to a certain type of music. When I'm by myself, however, I feel like it's so much easier to understand myself and to cultivate that loving relationship with myself.
I can be by myself, you know, have a little alone time. Yeah, naked alone time.
So I think it's just really important for us to all create the space to be by ourselves and to listen to ourselves. Just that quality time by yourself is just a great way to check in. I feel like since spending more time with myself, I found it so much easier to let go of that idea of perfectionism and fitting into society's standards. And now that I'm able to do it by myself in my own space, I feel like I can more easily do it when I'm outside with other people as well.
Love to love you, baby. Ow!
So self-love does sound really cheesy, but it really does help with so many areas of your life, and I think it's the basis of having confidence and self-esteem. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out my other video on setting boundaries, because I think setting boundaries is one of the best forms of self-love. So I'm gonna have a cup of tea and enjoy that quality time with myself. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.